What's up guys, it's Lord Both here with another video, and there are absolutely massive amounts of news to cover with Assassin's Creed Shadows that just dropped. And the big question that everybody has on their mind is this game actually successful or not? Now listen, I'm not going to string you along here. I'll give you the answer up front. The honest truth is, this game probably isn't actually successful. And it does depend on how you actually measure success. And we're going to get a little bit into that as the video goes along. This is going to be probably a little bit longer than my normal videos, but it's important to cover all the information here. Now, Assassin's Creed Shadows is obviously well known for having its share of controversy. In fact, leading up into its actual drop, the week of its drop, it had yet another controversy where people were showing clips of the games and they noticed something very distinct, that the romance options for the game, because again, it's done in the RPG style of most of the previous games since Odyssey, with Mirage being the aberration there, and because Mirage didn't do well, Ubisoft, I think, took the wrong lessons away from that and said, oh, actually people like the gigantic RPGs that we were doing, so let's go back to that, because those sold more. But what people notice is that the romance options in the game are a bit weird. First of all, gamers notice that most of, if not all, the romance options for Noe, I think is her name, the female protagonists are pretty much all women, leading people to believe canonically she's a lesbian. While people also notice that most of the actual romance options for Yasuke, the black samurai, who historically is not a samurai, and has had his share of controversies throughout this entire process, and has been the focal point of controversy for this game. All of his romance options seem to either be men, or a non-binary character, or the one female option which was shown around was the sister of Nobunaga, the lord in which Yasuke serves, who also was married with her own family at the time. So it all seems a little weird historically there. Now here's the thing, you can play with historical fiction however you want. I'm a firm believer in that. I defended Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 when they made some deviations from actual history, even though they were a lot clearer about the fact that they were deviating from actual history with their characters. But the real issue I have is actually with the mechanics of the game itself, and in particular the acting I've seen in these scenes of the game. I mean, just take a look here. I'm going to play it for you.
By Lord Nobunaga. He would have been pleased for you to have it.
Am I worthy of such a treasure?
Allow me to look into your eyes and see into your heart.
Yeah, like, what is going on here? This is incredibly weird, and yes, this is a character who Yasuke has a gay romance with. According to certain sources, this is a scene after they've actually done the deed, and the character is giving Yasuke a special sword. Of course, he's already probably given him a special sword, and vice versa, but this is an actual sword. And now they're doing this awkward eye stare thing, staring into their souls. It's all just very weird and very, very gay. I mean, gayer than the activities they were doing before this.
You are more than worthy. And this moment we have shared will be my treasure to keep.
Yeah, it's going to be his treasure to keep. This gay moment between two characters. Here's another scene that's apparently a lesbian scene between Naue and a female character in the game. Just take a listen to the voice acting here.
Lust is a journey of 1,000 steps that begins with a kiss.
Yeah, it's weird, it's awkward, and yes, I know plenty of RPGs have had weird, awkward sex scenes in games for a very long time. Everybody's played Mass Effect and Dragon Age and know the cringe sex scenes. But this one seems in particularly bad here because the acting, as you just heard, not the best. In the previous scene we just watched, also the acting, not great. In the other scenes, the whole shiitake mushroom vendor, right? Her acting, absolutely terrible. Like the line delivery in this game with the voice acting, I've seen adult films, actual adult films, with better line delivery that I got more feeling out of, and I believe more.
I see you don't have a lifeguard here at your beach.
I'm not at the beach, this is a bathtub.
Despite the horrible acting in the game, and apparently Assassin's Creed dropping a day one patch to prevent people from smashing up shrines, because that was yet again another controversy with this game right before it released. This hasn't stopped Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Shadows from claiming victory, saying that the game has done really well. Here they are with a post on the launch day saying it's not even 4 p.m. here in Canada, and Assassin's Creed Shadows has already passed 1 million players. Source? Trust me, bro. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for joining this adventure in feudal Japan. We are beyond excited to start this journey with you. Maybe this is just me and my perspective on it from a Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 fan, but it feels like with that post they're trying to chase that sort of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 feel. But it's just not getting there. And the problem with this is that those numbers are a little hard to believe. Why? Because currently the actual numbers on Steam are a peak, all-time peak of 47,000 players. And the number's been going up and down, little dips here and there, but not cracking 50,000 players is really weird. It's definitely not a good sign. I mean, take it from this point. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which it definitely feels with that post like they're trying to compare themselves to in terms of the numbers. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 had 160,000 players when it dropped. And that game dropped in a month that was absolutely jam-packed with games. So much so that I think it was the main reason why Ubisoft actually pushed this game into March rather than having it released in February like they originally moved it to. Because this thing was actually supposed to drop in November last year. I think they actually moved it to February to actually work on it. Then when they got closer to February, they noticed, oh wow, there's a lot of really competitive games dropping this month. We probably need to move it to March. And they used the excuse that they were working on it more, banging out the kinks. But in reality, that's the real reason why. But it just seems weird. You're claiming 1 million people play this. Now, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Assassin's Creed has always been a console-heavy franchise. This is the kind of game that a lot of console players play. You want to play this on your console, on your main television. So most people play it through Xbox and PlayStation. I get it. But to the tune of 950,000 players within the first couple days, I'm not sure about that. I don't really know how they're figuring those numbers, but they just don't seem right. And I get that it released on a Thursday, and maybe it gets a weekend bump, but we just haven't been seeing those kinds of weekend bumps anymore for game releases. And if this thing doesn't hit 50,000 players on Steam, that's bad. Like, really bad. As I already stated, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 did better on Steam when it launched. Monster Hunter Wilds, which released last month, definitely did better when it launched. Like 1 million players or whatever just on Steam. I mean, what are you going to hang your hat on as Ubisoft at that point? You did a little over double what Avowed did at their peak? Wow, what a major accomplishment. You beat Avowed. Also, it's important to keep in mind that player count does not actually mean sales. At any given time, a player can log off and another player can log on. I believe the game is also free to play if you have Ubisoft Plus, which yes, they're getting money from those subscribers, right? But it's way less money than the $90 that this thing costs. So we don't really know how those might factor into sales. But Assassin's Creed UK here tried to say that their sales numbers were really, really good by posting this. Excited to be back, full steam ahead. Thank you for your support, Assassins. And they have here a picture, a screenshot of Assassin's Creed Shadows being the #1 selling game on Steam globally. However, Hypnotic has a very correct statement here below. For those unaware, Steam's charts for top sellers is based on dollar amount. Ubisoft released this game, had pre-orders for this game during a Steam sale, which means fully priced game going against games that cost $5 will of course outpace anything currently out there. It seems like a minor strategy, but it makes sense. So if you're moving more units that cost more than something that costs a lot less, and that total dollar amount is higher, then yeah, you're going to be #1 on the sales charts. The Steam sale has ended, so expect to see this game drop fast in the top sellers list. It also has nothing to do with units, but they hope you don't realize that as well. Dragon Age the Veilguard was a top seller, and we all know how that ended. Yes, we did. They massively underperformed. And I think that's the thing about this game. I don't think it will be a massive Concord level flop. Most people think that, I think. But most people know it's not going to sell enough units to actually do anything. It's going to potentially underperform. And even if it doesn't underperform, it just does well. It doesn't do great, beyond expectations. I don't think it will be enough. In fact, I would say most people, even Ubisoft, know it won't be enough. Mostly because the costs on this game are astronomical, with a budget that's rumored to be in the $250 to $350 million mark. Which makes sense because the credits for this game are over 2 hours long. Over 3,000 people supposedly worked on this game. That is an insane amount of people when you take into consideration that Manor Lords, which was nominated for Indie Game of the Year last year, was made by one dude with the occasional contractor. The original Kingdom Come Deliverance was made by like 10 guys. And they needed 3,000 people, nearly 3,000 people to work on this game. How did they ever expect this thing to make money? Yeah, 45,000 players on Steam just isn't going to cut it when you have that amount of money that you have to make up. And not only that, Ubisoft is in dire financial straits to the point where they knew even if this thing did perform well, it wasn't going to be enough to save the company. That's why they're having meetings with other companies about selling their IPs and not even telling their investors about it. It's why they're having meetings with other people, other companies, including Tencent, their other major investor, right? About investing in a new company, a new entity. And why are they doing all that? Because they know the company is about to go bankrupt. They know the whole house of cards is about to come tumbling down. And they need an escape plan. And their escape plan is going to be sell off all the major IPs except maybe Far Cry and definitely Assassin's Creed. And then go form a new company and basically just make Far Cry and Assassin's Creed games to start off with. And hope that you're able to stay afloat. The problem is when you put yourself in those kind of constraints, if you have one flop, it's going to be curtains for you very, very quickly. However, the major sticking point with new investors, including Tencent, who doesn't really seem to want to invest in them now, is that the Guillemot family, the founding family of Ubisoft, that also helped drive this company into the ground because of their terrible, terrible business and definitely creative decisions, are demanding that they remain in charge. It's just stupid. It's asinine. Why would investors give you a ton of money just for you to burn it on things like Skull and Bones and X-Defiant, and then for you to turn around and say that you still believe in live service games and you want to continue on that model? You want to do the same thing you have been doing that's been losing a bunch of money. You're screaming, more cowbell, more cowbell. I got a fever and it can only be fixed with more cowbell. And then expect those same people that have already invested in you to invest in you again. No, they're not going to do that. They're not going to throw money away. And it definitely means they're not going to want you in charge because they know exactly what you're going to do. Waste their money. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Kind of like Assassin's Creed, giving us the same bland, generic, giant open world RPG over and over, while also increasingly shoving more woke agenda stuff into a game and then thinking it's all going to be magically successful. It's not. Again, there's enough normie gamers out there, and I think the numbers that we've seen support this, and the numbers at least that they're reporting support this, that this game isn't going to be a massive Concord level flop where it's going to have 500 people playing in like a week. But it's not going to make its money back probably. This thing would have to sell 5 to 10 million copies to be anywhere close to actually keeping Ubisoft afloat. And that's just not going to happen. And maybe this isn't what you would call doing well, but you could say it's doing okay. So in that respect, you could say even when Ubisoft do okay, they fail. And such is the way. Another day, another Ubisoft L. And one day, pretty soon, we're going to come across a day where there'll be no more Ubisoft to give us Ubisoft L's. And I think that's going to be sooner rather than later. But those are just my thoughts on all this. If you have your own thoughts, go ahead and leave them in the comments. If you like this video, go and like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, appreciate you watching all of it, and we'll talk to you again later.